Hi everyone. Today we're going to be discussing physical properties of matter. As we know, chemistry is the study of matter. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space or has volume. So when we talk about matter, there are two types of properties it has. It has physical properties and chemical properties. But right now we're just going to talk about physical properties. What are physical properties? Well, physical properties are properties that can be measured or observed without changing the composition or identity of that substance. So, these are things like size, which include mass, length, and volume, or the smell of something, or the temperature, or the texture and how it feels, are all examples of physical properties, because these are things that we can measure and observe without changing what that substance is. There are two types of physical properties. The first type we're going to talk about is an intensive physical property. These are properties that are independent of the amount of a substance in a system. So what that means, for example, is that luster, heat capacity, and ductility are all things that are going to be true about that substance no matter if you have a small amount of it or a big amount of it. So for example, luster is how shiny something is. So if something is shiny, it's going to be shiny no matter if you have a small amount of it or a big amount of it. The next type of physical property we have is an extensive physical property. Extensive physical properties are properties that depend on the amount. So these depend on the amount of the substance. For example, weight, mass, and the dimensions of something change depending on the amount of that thing in the substance. We can still observe them and measure them without changing the composition of or identity of the substance, but they do depend on the amount of the substance. So for example, weight, which is mass plus the force of gravity that is put on that mass, that changes depending on how much of it you have. So if you have more food on your plate, let's say, that is going to have more weight. And it also may have more mass, because if you have more stuff in it, which is the definition of mass, how much matter is in something, that is going to potentially grow bigger if you put more food on your plate, or if you put more stuff, more of that substance into whatever you're measuring. So properties that are measured and observed without changing the composition can be independent of the amount and also depend on the amount. So remember that there are two types of physical properties: intensive, which is independent of the amount, something like a shiny quarter, and extensive physical properties, which depend on the amount. So how much pounds, how many kilograms something has depends on the amount. And remember, these are both physical properties because we can measure and observe them without changing the composition or identity of that substance.